Welcome to the Geostrategic Podcast.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission today, well, it's a precise, high-speed breakdown of a crucial new initiative. It's being deployed in one of the world's most vital waterways, the Red Sea. We've gone through a stack of sources detailing a major new security agreement, and we're really analyzing exactly what it means, for global shipping, regional stability, and the efforts to curb the Houthi menace.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, I think, is understanding how a targeted, relatively low-cost agreement can dramatically shift the geostrategic balance, especially against sophisticated, resilient non-state actors like the Houthis. We're kind of moving away from these massive, maybe unsustainable military interventions toward building genuine local capacity. And the chance for, well, long-term peace in the Red Sea really depends entirely on this transition.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Why is securing this area so paramount, not just to the Middle East, but to you, the listener? Simply put, the Red Sea is an absolute lifeline for the global economy. It's that maritime bridge connecting Europe and Asia. The Houthis, operating from Yemen, have been the core threat. That's evidenced by, nearly 2 years of sustained attacks. Attacks they've launched on Israeli targets and, more broadly, on crucial commercial shipping lanes.
Exactly. And this isn't just some low-level nuisance, right? These attacks fundamentally raise the risk premium for international insurers, and that pushes up your cost of goods across the board. But what's critical to realize here is the scale of resistance the Houthis have shown. They are incredibly resilient.
Yeah, we saw the high-cost attempt to stop them. Our sources detail that they endured over 1,000 American strikes during what was called Operation Rough Rider.
That's right. And for you, the listener, Operation Rough Rider was this intensive, sustained coalition air campaign. It was designed to degrade Houthi weapons, their command infrastructure, and while it inflicted damage, it was expensive, politically complex, and critically finite. It didn't stop them completely. The Houthis continue to weather ongoing periodic Israeli strikes as well. So this raises a really important question that policymakers were forced to confront. How do outside actors effectively and, crucially, sustainably degrade their capacity, especially if direct, high-cost military action isn't ultimately halting their operations?
That's the key word, isn't it? Sustainability. We learned the solution blueprint is collective and built from the ground up, so to speak. Last month, Yemeni President Rashid al-Alimi publicly called for an international coalition to counter the Houthis. He did this during his address to the UN General Assembly. He essentially signaled that a multilateral effort, one focusing on counter-smuggling and building internal defenses, that would be the ideal, durable starting point.
Right. And following that clear call for aid, the international community responded, actually pretty quickly. This is where we see the strategic pivot happening.
Here's where it gets into the action phase. On September 16th, the United Kingdom and Saudi Arabia officially launched the initiative we're diving into today, the Yemen Maritime Security Partnership, or YMSP.
And the sources make the core objective crystal clear. The YMSP is fundamentally designed to develop Yemen's Coast Guard. That's its primary aim. This support is intended to enable local forces to protect maritime trade, enhance counter-smuggling operations, which is just vital, and combat piracy off Yemen's shores. It basically shifts the burden of responsibility back to the sovereign force, allowing the large navies, like the U.S. Navy, to focus on broader security issues.
And the immediate international buy-in signaled how seriously the world is taking this low-cost, local lead strategy. That initial YMSP conference, it wasn't just a bilateral meeting between the UK and Saudi Arabia. No, it was attended by representatives from 30 countries and 5 international organizations. The United States was there, too. That's a massive diplomatic turnout, really.
And consensus followed with cash, which is always a good sign. The immediate financial commitments show seriousness. The UK and Saudi Arabia each pledged $4 million. And the European Union contributed $2 million. So that's roughly $10 million committed right out of the gate.
It's great that $10 million came in quickly. Signals support, right? But Major General Khalid al-Kamali, he's the head of Yemen's Coast Guard Authority, he confirms that despite previous efforts, often disjointed efforts maybe, by the UK, Saudi Arabia, the US, the UN, the force still lacks the necessary resources. They can't actually meet their mission requirements yet.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's the capacity gap this new initiative absolutely must bridge. Is this initial $10 million just, a PR splash? Or does it actually address the fundamental equipment and training shortfall facing the Yemeni Coast Guard? That's the question.
Well, that brings us to the crucial discussion of U.S. involvement. The sources we looked at strongly encourage the U.S. to fully support the YMST. This participation, it directly aligns with the goal of maximizing return on foreign policy investments through, well, these low-cost efforts where local forces take the lead.
But it isn't just an economic decision, is it? It's a political one, too. We keep calling this low cost, but even a small investment is a political cost, especially given the whole history of the conflict. So why is the U.S. being encouraged to participate rather than, say, leading this effort, especially since its vessels were frequently targeted during the worst of the Houthi attacks?
Good point. Our sources suggest the U.S. hesitation might stem from the political complexity, maybe, of supporting a coalition led by Saudi Arabia and the U.K., but the strategic payoff seems too big to ignore. Financially, a relatively small amount of U.S. money could significantly enhance capabilities. I mean, compared to the annual budget we sink into Operation Rough Rider.
It's night and day, potentially. And materially, we're talking about targeting specific needs. General al-Kamali's force, they need advanced weapons or sophisticated sensors, not just old hand-me-downs. These supplies are necessary to achieve the effect of extending the Coast Guard's range and, importantly, increasing their lethality against Houthi speedboats and those smuggling vessels. Without advanced radar and communication gear, they are essentially blind and isolated out there at sea.
Exactly. And a crucial component the U.S. can provide, one which doesn't require massive troop deployment, is training. This would take the form of what are called Theater Security Cooperation Engagements, or TSCs.
Right. And for you, the listener, TSC engagements are not large-scale joint operations. Think smaller scale. They are highly focused technical training exchanges. The goal is to upgrade the level of specialized training for the Yemeni forces, everything from, say, small boat maintenance and patrol tactics to command and control protocols. Really practical stuff.
But perhaps the most impactful non-lethal contribution the United States could offer is increased intelligence sharing and logistics support. That is absolutely crucial, according to the sources. Intelligence sharing improves their ability to identify Houthi targets before they act, proactive, not reactive. And logistics support ensures they can maintain continuous operations rather than sputtering out due to lack of fuel or spare parts.
So this partnership is, in a way, testing a key U.S. foreign policy doctrine, isn't it? Can you achieve maximum strategic impact with minimum military footprint by essentially outsourcing the risk of leadership to capable partners? That's the core question being addressed by the YMSP, I think.
Okay, moving on to the bigger picture then. What does this capacity building actually achieve on the ground? Or, maybe better said, on the water?
Right. If we connect this to that bigger picture, the YMSP's most important geostrategic impact is enhancing local counter-smuggling efforts. That's huge. The primary goal here is to significantly hinder Iranian efforts to rearm and supply the terror group. The Houthis rely heavily, on covert maritime shipments for advanced weapon components. We're talking missiles, drone parts. Cutting that line starves their military capacity at the source.
But to maximize reach and strengthen effectiveness, the sources clearly suggest that the YMSP shouldn't limit itself. It shouldn't support only the official, but currently under-resourced Coast Guard. It needs to strategically support forces beyond that formal structure, to expand the anti-Houthi coalition and, well, maximize the area of operations, the AO.
And this is where the political complexity starts to really show. But it's also where the real potential for effectiveness lies. We're talking about groups like the Yemeni National Resistance Forces, the NRF. They operate along the Red Sea coast. And they have proven exceptionally effective at intercepting Houthi smuggling, often in areas the formal Coast Guard just can't reach right now.
And their success is measurable, which is key. Our sources detail how their capacity was demonstrated just this past summer. They seized 750 tons of weapons en route to the Iran-backed group. Now, to give you some scale on that, 750 tons of material. That represents the equivalent of components for hundreds of drones, maybe dozens of large missiles. That's a massive degradation of Houthi striking power, achieved entirely by local forces.
Exactly. And the other key group mentioned is the Southern Transitional Council, or the STC. Now, they are politically complex, no doubt, because they are a separatist-leaning group. But crucially, they controlled the vital port of Aden. After massive airstrikes damaged the primary Houthi port of Hodeidah, the Houthi supply route was apparently rerouted through Aden. And this allowed STC forces to successfully intercept weapon parts and sensitive drone components.
So supporting these different forces, the NRF and the separatist STC, it's politically challenging for the internationally recognized Yemeni government, sure. but strategically, it might be indispensable for maritime security across the board.
Absolutely. Supporting these additional effective forces encourages further operational cooperation within the broader anti-Houthi coalition. It builds trust, perhaps. It ensures that regardless of who is controlling a particular stretch of coastline, there's a capable, supported entity focused on interdiction. This decentralized outcome significantly strengthens the region's ability to thwart Iranian ambitions and ultimately helps secure those vital waterways.
Okay, so the effectiveness of this whole multinational low-cost strategy, it really hinges entirely on long-term management, doesn't it? The initiative must serve as the primary vehicle for global support. That means ensuring consistent, prioritized distribution of funds and resources, specifically targeting those identified capacity gaps.
And critically, donor countries must maintain strict and transparent oversight of spending. This isn't optional. It's an absolute requirement, not just for preventing financial leakage, waste, fraud, and abuse, which is always a concern, but also for securing the financial pipeline for the long haul. Without clear accountability, donor enthusiasm, and frankly, funding will dry up rapidly.
That critical oversight provides a really important diplomatic dividend as well. It increases the legitimacy of the overall effort in the eyes of the world. It proves that the internationally recognized Yemeni government is capable of being a responsible steward of significant foreign aid, which acts like political currency, right? Leading to continued and maybe increasing future investments in the country's infrastructure and stability down the line.
Yeah, it creates a positive feedback loop, essentially. Accountability equals legitimacy, and legitimacy equals more global support for the Yemen government, and that ultimately strengthens their position against the Houthis on both the diplomatic and military fronts.
So what does this all mean for you listening in? The Yemen Maritime Security Partnership, it's a calculated, seemingly realistic step towards securing the Red Sea. How? By building local, sustainable capacity. It's a strategic objective that seems worth pursuing. A Yemen that can eventually defeat the Houthis and work effectively with allies to secure a vital global waterway. And that bolsters national security aims across the entire region and beyond.
And this raises an important question as we consider the prospects for long-term regional stability and peace. Something to think about. Given the documented success of specific interdiction efforts by these decentralized, specialized groups like the NRF and STC, what is the maximum potential for peace in the Red Sea if military aid prioritizes these localized, decentralized, targeted forces over, say, large, centralized national bodies? Is that the more effective path forward?
A very interesting thought to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the new dynamics of Red Sea security. We encourage you to listen to the other great material available from the show. If you found this discussion valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to the Geostrategic podcast for more in-depth analysis on topics that shape our world. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay tuned for the next episode.